Hello, welcome to my podcast. Now, this is a conversation with lots of people I really admire. It's a chat about success, health, and happiness, and I know you're going to enjoy it. So without further delay, let's get started now. So, welcome to my podcast today, A Lil Chat with Dr. Terri Holloway. And today's topic is about how to take control of your life. So many of us are living busy lives. We're working a 9 to 5, and we would like a little bit more freedom in our day, I think, to do a lot of the things that we would love to do, to live the life that we would love to live. And I've invited a special guest here today because she's done just that. And Kelly, without further ado, I would love for you to just kind of tell people who you are and how you took control of your life.
Oh, thanks, Terri, and thanks for having me. Where do you want me to start? Like right at the beginning and my entrepreneurial journey?
I mean, kind of tell people a little bit of your background, because I met you at the university several years ago. And I find it so inspiring, Kelly, that, I was sort of rushing in as an entrepreneur, setting up my business, and you were sort of this high-flying marketeer, and you were just doing so well. I remember seeing your desk. I can still visualize it.
Can you?
Yes, I can. And the next thing I knew, you were an entrepreneur.
Yeah, okay. So we worked together. Well, I worked here at the university, and that was a brilliant job. So my background is all in marketing. I've got a degree in business and marketing, and I've been doing that for, 15 years now. So when I worked here, I worked for the business school, and that's how we met. And yeah, I was doing like communication strategy and all kinds of different fields of marketing. So it was a really nice job. I loved it. But I think it was part of being in the Institute for Entrepreneurship that I got a little bit itchy feet and thinking, oh, maybe I want to go and try out working somewhere else that's perhaps a little bit more agile, maybe a startup. So I ended up leaving the university to go and work for a software company. And I was there for, maybe 3 years or so, medium-sized company, maybe sort of 20 of us, I think, at the time when I joined, and very different to university life, but I was still doing marketing. And then in 2017, I had my daughter. So I went back to work a couple of days a week for a few months, and then I stuck at 3 days a week. And that was really like the catalyst for then me deciding that I wanted to start my own business, because up until that point, I had never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'd worked here at the university, seen all these amazing entrepreneurs like yourself, and thought, oh, that looks like a lot of hard work. I don't think that I want to do that. It's nice getting a salary and the holiday pay and sick pay and all of those things. So it was only when I had Penny, my daughter, that I started to realize that maybe I needed to do something a little bit different to kind of fit in with being a parent a little bit better. So that's how it started. But my background's always been marketing, and that's still what I do now in my business today.
Interesting. So you never really saw yourself sort of, quote unquote, you were in an environment with loads of entrepreneurs, and you thought, I'm a different person.
Yeah, I thought that's not for me. That's too hard. It looks risky. It looks like a lot of work. Nobody in my family is from an entrepreneurial background. And, being here at the University of Nottingham, you have some amazing, intelligent students coming in and creating these businesses. And whilst I thought that was brilliant for them, it was never something that I thought for me. It was only when I had Penny and I started to realize that maybe the 9 to 5 wasn't going to fit with her when she got to school age. In fact, I had a light bulb moment. I might have mentioned this to you before, but I was at the water cooler chatting to colleagues, literally at the water cooler. And we were there. And it was just a passing comment my colleague made around, Penny was 2.5 at the time. And they said, so you need to be thinking about schools like sooner rather than later, time goes fast and you'll need something without a school club so that you can, come to work. And I just thought to myself, I was nodding and smiling, going, school, that is coming up. And inside I just thought, no, I don't want to put Penny in a breakfast club or an after school club. And then I don't know what I've been thinking up until that point, but then I suddenly realized, well, there's also all of those school holidays, like August, you're off the whole time, and I only get a few weeks annual leave. So in my mind, I was suddenly thinking, no, this isn't going to work. And actually, it's not what I'm going to do. I just had this inner knowing that I wasn't going to stay in a 9 to 5, even though it was a great company to work for and, I was working part-time. but it didn't compute how I was going to do the school run and have all of that time off and still have a proper job. So that was like the seed was planted where I thought, actually, I need to do something completely different. But at that time, I didn't really know what it was. I just knew the end goal was not to be going to work and stressing and doing all of that stuff with the childcare. So
Wow. It's so admirable, Kelly. I'm just, I'm thinking about other parents, mothers, fathers at home. And there's just a daily sort of, obviously they love their children. They'll do anything for their children. But it's not easy, is it?
No, it's not. And, there's loads that we can say about the way that work's set up for parents at the moment. And it's probably a topic for a different podcast. But I think for me, I just realized that I needed to do something else, because I wasn't going to do it the way that everybody thought I was going to do it. And it wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was more about, oh no, I just want to walk her to school every day and have the holidays off. And the job that I had then, I couldn't quite see how it was going to work. And it was about that time, or just after that. So I don't know if you want to believe in the universe giving you signs, but I had an old colleague actually from the university reach out and ask if I was interested in doing a little bit of freelancing work on the side. To which I said, oh yeah, that's great. I can do a bit in my spare time. Well, not that I had much spare time. I was like, yeah, sure, I can do some work for you. And that's how I ended up doing a little bit of side hustling around freelance marketing. And it didn't take long to kind of get to the point where I was making half of my part-time salary on the side. And sort of 9 months of that, I said to my husband, I reckon if I leave my job and do this full time, I can easily make what I'm making in my 3-day-a-week marketing manager job. Shall I go for it? And he was like, yeah, let's go. So
wow.
I handed in my notice in the November of 2019 and started my own business in January 2020. And then of course the pandemic hit and it all went crazy. But that was the start of it. I knew then that was the key to actually having the flexibility. And all I wanted to do was match my corporate salary. 3 days a week, I wasn't earning mega bucks. And I was like, look, if my costs are really low because I'm a solopreneur, I'm working from a laptop, I don't have a team, I can make that money after tax really easily. So that's what I did. In January, I matched my salary from the corporate job and was off. Yeah, so I did it.
Amazing. Well done. I'm just thinking, when I listen to you, Kelly, I hear so much sort of self-belief.
Yeah.
And sort of something that says, I can do it, a bit of spunk, a bit of rebellion almost.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about, you said, from your background, maybe there weren't other entrepreneurs.
No, we're really normal.
So where does that come from? Where do you think that kind of grit comes from?
Yeah, interesting question. So I think we can link this back to having a purpose, because when you want to make a big change in your life or start a business or whatever the goal might be, you've got to have that guiding light. And my guiding light 100% is my daughter. I don't think I would have started a business if it hadn't been for her. And I do think actually being a parent is an entrepreneurial superpower, because my God, you are good at getting stuff done in limited time. So I don't think I would have started it without her, but she was this guiding light of, I have to be there to take her to and from school. That's all I was thinking of. Can't do it with my corporate annual leave. I need to do something else. So there wasn't ever a question in my mind that it wasn't going to work. And I am lucky that I've got a supportive family around me. I said to my husband, what do you reckon? We split all the bills down the middle. So I think if he'd said, oh no, I think that's really risky, don't do it, I probably still would have done it, but I wouldn't have done it with the confidence that I had. And I also spoke to my mum, who, so she's also self-employed now, but she never was when I was a child. And then she said to me, yeah, of course you can do it. So I was like, do you think I can make a go of this? She was like, yeah, 100%, of course you can, you'll be brilliant. So when those two people around me said, yeah, go for it, then I thought, well, yeah, I just knew that I could make that money. That's all I needed to do, was pay my half the bills, walk Penny to and from school when the time came. And then of course the pandemic hit, and it wasn't as freeing as I had hoped it would be. But yeah, I think the confidence just came from that inner purpose of, I have to make this work. And the people closest to me thought I could do it. So I was like, well, I'm going to do it then.
Wow. So inspiring. When you talk about purpose, I love that topic, because it's clear that, Penny's been your guiding light. She's been the one that you've focused on in terms of, this is going to work. I can do this, and I'm going to do it for Penny. So what about people who they've heard, words like purpose, they've seen the Mindset podcast and things, and it might seem a bit frou-frou for some people.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So when they're kind of seeking out, what is my purpose? Is there any sort of tips or guidance that you can think of that might help people find the why in their own lives?
Yeah, so meaning and purpose, they are difficult topics, I think, to get a handle on. And, in other areas of my life, I'm thinking about meaning around, like, there might be health goals and things like that. And it can be hard to pin it down and think, well, what's the motivating factor? What's the thing that's going to get me out of bed every day to actually do the work to get to the end goal? Because that's what purpose is. Purpose is very goal driven. Why do I want to do this? What does it look like when I achieve this goal? Whether it's in entrepreneurship or life or relationships or any area of something you want to set a goal and get to, that is your purpose. When you think about meaning, so I look at this through a positive psychology lens because I did my positive psychology coaching certification a couple of years ago. So I'm well into all the mindset stuff and what drives us and motivators. And I think, so meaning, I find is a much harder topic to grasp, but it's around that sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself, or, maybe contributing to your community, which could be your friends and family around you, the gym, the people at the gym, or a charity that you might be involved with, or religion. That having that sense of meaning, something that's bigger than you, can also help. But the purpose is the goal. So it can be tricky to tap into that bigger, why am I doing this? But I think for me, I was lucky that water cooler moment, that was the purpose. So the goal was, I am not going to have to need to use childminders or out of school clubs or, put Penny in summer camps. Summer camp sounds like a prison camp. Summer camps over holidays. Like, some kids love that, but it's not for her. She's very shy. So anyway, I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, she's going to be with me. That was the goal. So I was really motivated to explore different avenues, because at that time at the water cooler, I didn't think, oh, well, I'm going to start a business and then I'm going to do this and this, which will give me that goal. I just knew what the goal was, and that was the motivating factor. So if you can find something that gives you that feeling inside of, I am so obsessed with this goal, or this has got to happen for me because, and you've got something outside of yourself that you can attach it to. So for me, it's like my daughter is, somebody outside of me. It's not just my goal, it's like for her as well. That's the purpose. Then that's what's going to help you to actually take the little steps to get to the goal, or, get out of bed on a morning and actually do the work. Does that make sense?
Wow, it does make sense. And it's so inspiring.
Oh, thanks.
So if a person can find something in their lives, that's that meaningful to them.
Yeah.
And then they kind of maybe look at their skill set, look at their 9 to 5 and think, I understand how to work for somebody else. Maybe they've been doing that for years. But how do I step outside of this organization, and be a one-man band, a one-woman band, and say that this is something that I now do, that you can pay me to do?
Yeah.
How would you sort of advise a person to transition from employee to entrepreneur?
Oh, good question. So I started with the thing that I'm good at, which was marketing. And in fact, on the road to starting this business, I had a whole load of fun and crazy side hustles that never translated into any money. And my husband jokes about this all the time. Like, remember that time when you tried to do that? And I'm like, yeah. So some of them, silly ideas. I listened to a podcast where this woman was making $6,000 a month drawing pet portraits. I was like, I'm quite good at drawing. So maybe I'll draw my cats and then I can sell these, draw other people's pets. Didn't work. The other one that I did, and this is so embarrassing, but I used to flip clothes on eBay. So I once found a Burberry jumper in a charity shop for £4 and sold it for £45. And I was like, This is my ticket to life.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because it took so much time and energy to wash the clothes, photograph the clothes, sell them. So I did all of these funny things on the side to try and get to that goal. But the trick was to actually pick something that I was already good at. So if you're thinking about starting a business or even a side hustle, do something that you've already got a skill in, I think, is probably the quickest route, rather than looking at somebody over there who's making multiple 5 figures from drawing people's cats and dogs that you've never drawn before. So actually, oh, well, I'm good at, whatever it is. So you can monetize your skill. And that's probably the easiest, quickest route to doing it. So like I said, that sign from the universe, if you like, with a friend or colleague reaching out and saying, oh, would you mind doing some marketing for me on the side? I'm like, oh yeah, that's easy. I can do that in my, Penny's asleep on the days off, like her 2-hour nap. I'll go and do the work then and make easy money. So it's like leaning into what you're actually good at and what people are maybe asking you for. And I think just being open to different opportunities and not maybe being laser focused on, I have to do it a certain way. It's like you've got to trial and experiment with things before you maybe land on the winning idea.
Wow. And maybe not taking yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
Like, giving yourself a chance to kind of explore, life is an adventure.
Yeah, eBay is an adventure.
Yeah, it sure is.
Stuff in those clothes. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah. So, Kelly, not only have you kind of launched out there, set up your own business, you're now a 6-figure earning entrepreneur.
Crazy.
Amazing. You've also written a book, so you're a new author. Well done.
Thank you.
And your book is like, always with me. So
love it.
So I've kind of just looked through, and there's some really interesting topics in there, and some of it does speak to sort of your psychology, education and things like that. You talked about focusing on money, and you said it'll only get you so far in business.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of have you kind of talk about that a little bit, because everybody's telling us, money can't make you happy. Don't focus on money too much. Do you really believe that? And sort of what's your concept behind that?
Oh, great question. So money can definitely make you happy up until a point, because, if you haven't got money, you're stressed about money, or you're in debt, that's not a nice situation to be in, and it will impact your well-being. So money definitely has an impact on people's happiness, and there's loads of positive psychology studies around that. But the amount of money that you actually need to be happy isn't a lot of money. I can't remember the actual figure, but it's less than 100K or something like, it might be like 75 grand or something like that. So you can, money will make you happy to a point, and money only motivates you to a point. So this is something that I tread the line with, because of my marketing background. I'm always looking at ROI. So what's the return on investment for this marketing campaign? Or if I'm creating a new offer that I'm selling to my clients, how much money is that going to bring into the business? How much time is it taking? Is it like a viable offer? So you've got to look at money in that regard. And I'm also really disciplined with setting money goals, how much money do I need to make in the business? How much money do I want to make? What am I going to sell to make that money? So I think you do need to set money goals and work towards them. Otherwise it's just, well, I'm selling this thing, or, you haven't got that goal, that end point to get to. But it's interesting around the money motivating you, because at the beginning, as I told you, I never wanted to, it wasn't my aspiration to turn over 100 grand. That would have blown my mind and felt well out of reach. All I wanted to do was to match my part-time marketing salary. And that's what I set the goal, and I knew what to sell, and I did that from month one. It was only then after being in the online business world, because all of my work is done remotely pretty much. So, the world is kind of your online oyster when you run a business like that, and especially service-based business like mine. And there was some things that I did to stop trading time for money, like educating groups of entrepreneurs on their marketing rather than doing the marketing freelance work. So I moved away from that after the first 6 months of my business. So I started to look at other revenue streams and how to make that money in a more flexible way. But to the point I was trying to make it is the money, you have to think about it, but also that will only get you out of bed to a point, right? So think about your purpose, which for me is creating that freedom lifestyle, being able to take Penny to and from school and have time off. So I think if I'd gone too far on focusing the money and setting much bigger goals, that would have perhaps compromised the purpose, which was being around for my daughter while she still wants to be around with me until she's a teenager or whatever. So I think a lot of people get stuck on that bit because they either focus too much on the money or they don't focus on it enough. I think you've got to strike the balance. And the funny thing was, so I never set out to turn over 100K, like I said, but it was only after I got into that online world, maybe I'd been doing my business for 18 months to 2 years before I thought maybe I should go for 6 figures. And I remember going through all of my invoices and adding it up on my calculator, and it came out over that rolling 12-month period, I'd done £106,000. And I don't know what I expected. I maybe thought a glitter cannon would go off, or I'd feel oh, the angels would sing, but I just went, okay, and put it down. So for me, it was oh, well done, but nothing crazy happened when I'd made that money. I just then thought about, well, what's the next goal? So I also have to rein myself in and think, well, instead of trying to double that, what other purposeful goals have I got?
Interesting. So Kelly, are you sort of the first 6-figure earner in your family?
So I don't keep all of that money. Tax man takes it. So I'm turning over 6 figures, but I do really well in terms of the money I'm paying myself. Yeah. But I'm not from an entrepreneurial background. So, my mum will kill me for telling you this, but when I was little, before my mum had me, she met my dad. They were bus drivers, and my mum's dad was a bus driver, and my grandma was a bus conductor, and my brother's a bus driver. So, you know, like fairly normal, humble background, I guess. My mum has since gone on to become a sort of an entrepreneur. So she's self-employed as a financial planner. But no, so nobody in my family like are really wealthy or from a background where we talk about sums of money like that, or they weren't. So
I love that.
yeah, and no one gave me any money to start my business. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe I've had a leg up or something, I really hadn't. When I started my business, I didn't even have a computer. So I bought a secondhand laptop off my employer for £50 that I then used that for the first 2 years of my business from my kitchen table to get to, you know, almost 6 figures doing it that way. So
wow, amazing. So let's talk about positive psychology a little bit, because in order to go from a person who, you know, hasn't been that type of earner or who has a 9-to-5 or whatever it is that your life might be, and then begin to have aspirations of sort of, you know, 6 figures and all these other goals and dreams that you were shooting toward, do you feel that you need to see yourself differently or almost be a different person mentally? What do you think?
I think so, yeah. So the money thing is a really interesting topic, and there's positive psychology around setting your goals and meaning, and PosPsych's all about flourishing, you know, human functioning and flourishing. So I'm really interested in that alongside with the making money part of it and the goals I have for like my parenting. There's this whole idea of being like the best version of me that I can be as well, which I think is really important when you're an entrepreneur, because you can definitely get focused on money making or hustling and setting that next target, and then, you know, your health or your energy gets left behind. So PosPsych came in at the right time where I was looking at, well, how can I also make sure that I'm looking after myself and feeling happy and like fulfilled, as well as like making the money and doing the business stuff. So that was really interesting to me. And the reason that I decided to train as a PosPsych coach was I work, like 90% of my clients are female. So I work with a lot of other solopreneurs, like service providers, and we'd set goals or create marketing strategies. And there was this thing, like this block that got in the way a lot of the time for them actually implementing, and that was mindset. So I realized it's not just me that needs to work on myself, because I definitely had to, like, to take it to the next level. It's other people as well. So part of me training in that was to give other entrepreneurs like the mindset toolkit that they need to then, whether it's around confidence or breaking through any kind of like mindset barriers or money blocks, those kind of things, or even just to protect their own health and well-being alongside being an entrepreneur. I found that was so important, and I actually blend that now with like marketing strategy. So it seems to give me the edge. But yeah, from my point of view, I had to work on myself because, like you said, from a background that's fairly like normal, to then think about bringing in all of that extra cash, I had to break through my own kind of limiting beliefs, I guess you call it, or work on my own confidence, like especially around pricing, to kind of get to that next goal. So
wow,
yeah, you have to work on yourself all the time. Like new level, you've got to get there and do the work on yourself as well as the actual work on your business, I think.
Wow. So I want to kind of leave people with a few tips. First of all, I think a lot of times we might have psychology blocks, or there might be something sort of standing in the way of our greatness. What might you say to a person who can't identify what some of those symptoms are? What if they don't know that something's holding them back? What are some of the things they can look out for to identify that maybe they do need sort of a better perspective on what they can accomplish?
Yeah, so I think if you can take some time just to reflect and think about what it is that you want from life, or maybe why you haven't reached your next goal, that will give you more information than you might think, because a lot of people don't pause and actually assess what's going well for them, what's not going well, and why. So that's something I do on an almost daily basis, asking myself, what's going well? Why is that working? What's not going well? Why isn't it working? And all of my clients, when I ask them, so what's in the way of you getting to that next goal, whether it's with their business or whatever, and they'll say me. So I think people do know that it's them holding themselves back. So if you realize that maybe there's something you're doing that's a little bit self-sabotaging, or maybe you've got the practical skills, like for me, I could do marketing, like it was just about breaking through, being able to charge the right money. You'll kind of know if you just pause and let yourself reflect on why it is that you haven't hit that goal. But I think you can get around those blocks, like whatever it is, like whether you need to just develop more of a growth mindset. So, not getting bogged down by failures or perceived failures in your business, like looking at everything like a challenge. So I'd invite anybody watching this, if they are struggling to like either launch their business or take it to the next level, just to approach it like a test. If something doesn't work out, why didn't it work out? What would you do differently next time? And if people can adopt that kind of growth mindset rather than the opposite is fixed, where, oh, why does everything bad happen to me, or I can never be successful, just to think about, okay, that didn't work, why didn't it? What would I do differently next time? That will absolutely skyrocket your like progression in business, because you've got to continually assess and improve and move on. So
wow, confidence is a big thing, isn't it?
It is a big thing, yeah. And I think to a point you can fake it till you make it a little bit. So I love affirmations. So when I was trying to go for 6 figures, I would say to myself about 200 times a day, I am a 6-figure business. I run a 6-figure business. So it's just about, if you can trick your brain into thinking that you're already there, I do think, and the science will show you this as well, that you take the steps to actually get towards that goal. So you've got to speak it out loud, and also share your goal with friends and family. So I would say to people, right, I want to do this with my business, or I want to make this much money. Like the first step of, I want to run my own business. What do you think?
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, go for it. It's like, well, I want to make 100K in my business. What do you think? Yeah, of course you can. But if you hold that goal inside and don't tell anybody, then it's just a secret goal. So
it's just a secret goal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So Kelly, what we didn't talk about, give people just a couple of tips, because you're also a time management guru.
Oh, I'm good at time.
So when you wake up in the morning, you kind of know what's going on. I've seen your calendar, Kelly. So what tips can you give people about how to sort of take control of those hours and really make the most of their day?
Okay, so look, if I can do it, most people can. So I only got about 20 hours a week to work on my business. That's always been that way. But the trick is, I know exactly what I'm doing when I get to work in the morning. So I do the school run both ends of the day. But when I get to my desk, there's no like, right, I'm just going to check my emails or answer all those messages, or what am I doing today? The night before, I know, because I've literally planned it out, like from 6 a.m. about up to 6 p.m. And this all comes back to that bigger goal. So if I know that there's some particular sales goal, for example, I have in my business, what are the steps that I need to take to sell that thing or make that money? Well, it's going to look like these revenue generating tasks. I focus on those. What I don't focus on is getting back to everybody that's emailed me or answering all messages. So I'm sorry if you've emailed me and I've not replied. But I know from the beginning of the day to the end of the day what I'm doing, and I love to time block as well. So if you are floating around and then you just get to your desk and think, what shall I do on this beautiful Monday morning? That's probably not the best use of time. Like, to really nail down, what am I doing for the first hour? Pick the things that are difficult, do those first, and try not to get sucked into that trap of, I'm going to respond to everybody's email or messages first. Like, do your own work first, and then you can answer those emails in the last 5 minutes before you run out the door for the school run. That's what I tend to do anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do your own work first. They say pay yourself first.
Yeah.
How do you do all of that, putting you first without feeling guilty about it?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I don't feel guilty at all, but I think that's because of the purpose. So, I've got clients. Obviously, I need to get back to clients, and I'm working on their projects as well as mine, but I have set times for that as well. So I think as long as you know that in your diary you have the time in to do all of the things that you need to do, and you can whittle it down and eliminate anything that doesn't get you towards that goal, that purpose that you've set, then that's okay. And it's also okay to drop loads of balls. Like, there's stuff I don't get done most days that I plan to do, and things happen. But I think if you focus on what really needs to get done first, then you're on to a winner. So be a little bit more selfish with your time, but think about your purpose and connect it to that.
Wow, Kelly, I could talk to you about this all day.
Yeah, me too.
Long, okay?
I'll come back.
Good. Please do come back. But I do also recommend that you grab Kelly's book. It is phenomenal. It is pink. So, I mean, what is there not to love? So, yeah, I'm so proud of you, Kelly. And I think that you represent, for a lot of us, something that we can relate to. A real woman in the real world, making real moves.
Oh, thanks, Terri.
And we're just watching your success, rooting for you. And I think a lot of people will be able to resonate with your story. So thank you so much for sharing today.
You're so welcome.
Your journey.
Thank you so much, Terri. And if people want a copy of the book, I can share that with them. So it's called Positively Productive. So if anybody wants one. You can come and get it from cheerupmarketing.com, my website, or message me on Instagram at cheerupmarketing. And if you just send me the message, the word book, then I will send you a free copy. You just have to pay for postage. So yours if you want it.
Wow. Yeah, it's truly a gift. I've been reading mine just yesterday. I was reading that. So grab your copy, definitely. All right. Well, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.